Good day, everyone. I'm Kimberly Pierce Cartwright, News and Public Affairs at WNCU 90.7 FM on the campus of North Carolina Central University here in Durham. And I'll be your moderator for this virtual town hall meeting made possible by Z. Smith Reynolds. During the meeting today, we'll hear from Thomas A. Stith III, and he is the North Carolina Director of the U.S. Small Business Administration in Charlotte, North Carolina. Also with us today is Kevin J. Price, President and CEO of the North Carolina Institute of Minority Economic Development in Durham, North Carolina. Mr. Stith will provide information about the SBA's resources as well as the SBA's response to COVID-19 for small businesses during this very critical time. And Mr. Price will address the results and call to action of the current survey on the impact of COVID-19 on small, diverse businesses gathered by the North Carolina Institute of Minority Economic Development. He will address where the resources are and what is next. And following their presentations, they will answer a series of questions given to us by small business owners across the state. Now, with all of that housekeeping done, I would like to welcome Thomas Stith III. Hello, and thanks for being with us.
Well, Kimberly, I appreciate the opportunity to be with you this morning. Although I'm in Charlotte, it's good to have a connection to NCCU, my alma mater, as an Eagle. At least makes me feel a little closer to home. So glad to be with you this morning.
Wonderful, thank you. I know you're very busy. Talk to us first about your agency and what it does, and then you may begin your presentation, sir.
Okay. Well, thank you again. Well, the U.S. Small Business Administration has the specific mission of helping assist companies start, grow, and expand. So we work with small businesses throughout North Carolina in various stages of their development. That's what makes it even more key for SBA to be engaged at this time in history. We have over 900,000 small businesses throughout the state of North Carolina, and they employ 1.7 million people. So during this critical time, SBA is very engaged in providing economic support as we recover from this serious disaster. So at this time, I will work our technology and first of all, bring up a short presentation that I would like to share. There are a few key programs that I would like to discuss today as SBA support to the coronavirus epidemic. COVID-19 has impacted all of our communities and especially impacting the small business community. So today we will talk about the economic injury disaster loans, which are served to provide immediate relief around a disaster. On March 18th of this year, North Carolina received a full state declaration as a disaster because of COVID-19. So all small businesses throughout North Carolina are now eligible to apply for economic injury disaster loan. And we will talk more about that in a moment, along with the economic injury grants. And we'll speak as well today about express bridge loans, the Paycheck Protection Program, and small business debt relief. First, as I mentioned, on March the 19th, North Carolina received a statewide declaration of disaster from SBA Administrator Jovita Carranza. This provided the opportunity for small businesses across our state to apply for relief because of this viral disaster. The first response by SBA then was to provide economic injury disaster loans to small businesses in North Carolina to provide that potential availability. All small businesses qualify, nonprofits qualify, even businesses that had a relationship with an affected business are covered under the economic injury disaster loan program. Some of the basics that are looked as you go through the underwriting process are general credit history. Has the business been in operation for some period of time? Have they established any credit history? The ability to repay. And obviously we realize that at this time, all businesses are crippled, but they're looking at your business model and potential to repay once we get back to normal. And collateralization. Loans from $25,000 and below do not require collateral. Those that are over $25,000 will have the SBA underwriter seek some level of collateral. That won't disqualify a small business, but that amount will trigger a look for some level of collateralization. And just the basic terms of those EIDL loans or economic injury disaster loans, they're up to $2 million. They can be in length of up to 30 years. For small businesses, the rate on those loans is 3.75%, and for nonprofits, 2.75%. And businesses can use those, or nonprofits, for general operating expenses. These loans are designed to assist with the operations during this time period and the businesses have been affected by COVID-19. So that's everything from fixed debt to payroll to accounts payable. A recent additional benefit to the Economic Injury Disaster Loan Initiative are emergency economic injury grants. These grants can be applied for within the same application process, and they provide much more immediate dollars. If the small business qualifies, they can receive up to $10,000 that is forgivable, regardless of whether your application is approved or not approved. That $10,000 or maximum of $10,000 is provided to the business to try to help during the processing period. Now, if a business applied before March 31st of this year, they would have to go back into the online portal and reapply if they wanted to have the benefit of being considered for the $10,000 advance. But it will not disturb their place in line. It will not put them at the bottom of the pile. It will automatically engage your application if you had already applied where it was in the queue. And again, small businesses are varied. They can be your hotels, they can be your barber shops or beauty shops in your community, wholesalers. You just have to be located and have a physical presence within North Carolina to take advantage of the declaration that was made here in North Carolina. Again, many folks ask, well, what can these proceeds be used for? And we feel at SBA, they should be able to use them for working capital for businesses. And this PowerPoint will be made available to your listeners, but I will say for those listening now, you can go to disasterloan.sba.gov for the online portal. And again, private nonprofits are eligible, 501c, 501c-D and E are eligible. And so not only do private sector organizations or small business qualify, but nonprofits do as well. How to apply? Once again, if you go to disasterloan.sba.gov/ELA, that will take you directly to the portal. Because of the type of disaster, we will not be able to have physical recovery centers on the ground, so it will be through an online portal or through telephone communication. The 800 number is 800-659-2955. In addition to SBA support, SBA has resource partners throughout North Carolina that can help small businesses as they prepare their loans, if they have additional questions, so they can also go to SBA Online Help or go to one of our many resource partners. The Small Business and Technology Development Centers are located at our university campuses throughout North Carolina. SCORE are located in 10 chapters across the state. Our women's business centers in Asheville, Charlotte, Raleigh-Durham, and Fayetteville can assist not only women-owned businesses, but general businesses as well. Our veterans have a resource with our Veterans Business Outreach Centers in Fayetteville, and obviously your local chambers of commerce. And again, their website information and contact information are listed here in the slide. Now I'd like to talk about just one or two other programs that are available through SBA during this time. The Express Bridge loans are an existing pilot program, but now are also available to assist small businesses during this disaster recovery. They have a literal express review process, and a small business can receive up to $25,000 with minimal paperwork, and they have the potential to go qualify for those loans as well. The recent CARES Act that was passed on March 27th had numerous benefits, not only to our citizens throughout the country, but also our small businesses. One in particular is the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP. This initiative is designed to assist small businesses in retaining their existing employees to ensure that individuals across the state keep their jobs. So this allows a small business to apply for they can qualify potentially for up to $10 million. And they look at things such as your payroll, your rent and your mortgage, but typically it is a multiple of your payroll costs that will determine the amount of your loan. The significant benefit in this initiative, the Payroll Protection Program, is that proceeds that are used during the first 8 weeks of the loan that are utilized for payroll or rent or mortgage are forgivable. Therefore, the small business will not have to pay that portion of the loan back. So it is truly an incentive to maintain employment in those small businesses. And along with that benefit, SBA will actually defer loan payments on those loans for 6 months to once again provide additional cash flow for the individual. And finally, the Small Business Debt Relief Initiative centers around individual businesses that are already SBA loan beneficiaries. And this again is a deferment, if you please. SBA will actually pay for up to 6 months those principal and interest payments on a 7A, 504, or microloans, which are the flagship loans for the small SBA programs. These initiatives can be accessed if you go to sba.gov/coronavirus. That's sba.gov/coronavirus. So I know a lot of information given today. The PowerPoint will be made available, but just to recap, and as we look at the various programs, two in particular come to mind, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the Emergency Grant is operational now. The portal is available now. Those loans are up to $2 million. You can receive up to $10,000 in an initial advance if you qualify that is not repayable. It is forgiven. And also the Paycheck Protection Program, so that businesses can have additional cash infusion and retain most primarily their employees to retain employment. So at this time, I'd like to answer a few questions that have come in regards to SBA's response to the current COVID-19 crisis. The first question is, can I apply to more than one loan? And obviously we talked about several options today. The general answer, and this is a very fluid situation, the large legislation was just passed less than a week ago, but the general answer is yes, but you cannot use proceeds for the same reason. So if you had an economic injury disaster loan and you qualified for that, and you also qualified for the Paycheck Protection Program, you could not use proceeds for the same employees, say if you were going to use it for payroll. They have to be for different uses. So there are some situations where you could, at this point in time, have more than one SBA loan, but you will be prohibited from using it for the same use. Another question that came in was, what's the interest rate? You know, these are loans except for the emergency injury advance, which is not required to be repaid. The rest of them are loans. So for the Paycheck Protection Program, there's a maximum of 4%, but at this point, the guidance from U.S. Treasury has been the interest will be 0.5% for a term of 2 years. Again, lot of changes going on at this time, so I would encourage small businesses to pay close attention to the terms and conditions. There is a potential for change, but as we speak today, the rate would be 0.5% for a 2-year period, but that amount of the loan that remain. Again, remember, if those proceeds are used for payroll and allowable uses, that portion of the loan would be forgiven. For the economic injury disaster loan, the rate would be 3.75% for businesses for a term for up to 30 years and 2.75% for nonprofits for a period up to 30 years. And then the question also asks, what about just your general products like your SBA 7A loan? What's the interest rate on that? For under 7 years, it's 2.75% plus prime. And then for anything over 7 years is 2.25% plus the prime rate. And then finally, there was a question about collateral. Again, since we're talking about loans, collateral is required is sought for the EIDL loan if you have a loan over $25,000. And again, not having collateralization for the full amount will not be an immediate disqualifier, but SBA will look for some level of collateral. For the Paycheck Protection Program, collateralization is not required. So again, I know a lot of information. I really encourage small businesses to reach out to SBA. As you see posted, our website, the general website for disaster is sba.gov/disaster. We have numerous resource partners throughout the state that can assist along with SBA to assist small businesses during this time. And I really encourage all small businesses to take advantage of the economic infusion that SBA has available. I enjoyed this opportunity to speak and look forward to future conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that very valuable information during this critical time. We're going to move ahead, and next on our virtual town hall is Mr. Kevin Price. He's the president and CEO of the Institute of Minority Economic Development in Durham, North Carolina. Thank you so much, Mr. Price, for being a part of the program today.
My pleasure.
Okay, so talk to us about your agency, what it does, and then you may begin your presentation.
So let me see how technically savvy I am now that I feel a little intimidated by
Mr. Stith?
Yeah.
He was quite fabulous.
He did a great job.
Yes, he did.
So first, let me just start by saying thank you to you, Kim, and your team at the North Carolina Central for helping us today and helping us share this information. I'm real excited about this as our first town hall meeting to sharing information with the community. I'd also like to thank my team for helping pull this together as well. So Talitha, thank you for this. And Thomas, thank you as well. I know you have a busy schedule, so I appreciate you being on with us. For those of you who don't know the Institute, we were created in 1986 by Andrea Harris. And really, we're here to serve the minority business community and the minority community in general. And I'm sharing with you our mission, vision, and values because I think it's important for everyone to be level set in terms of who the Institute is. And we're here to strengthen the asset base of diverse populations through policy, education, and opportunities. And that is shared through our vision of economic prosperity for diverse populations. And you can see our values there as well. And I'm really excited about being a part of the Institute, which I've been somewhat involved with for a number of years. So it's exciting being here. You can see here where we operate and what we do. We have the South Atlantic Small Business Transportation Resource Center operating in North Carolina, Virginia, Kentucky, West Virginia, and the DC metro area. Our Women's Business Center of Charlotte, it serves 12 counties near Mecklenburg County, which is included. Women's Business Center of North Carolina serves 52 counties from the Triad North and East. So we're covering quite a bit of territory in North Carolina. And we also have our Minority Executive Education Institute, which is in partnership with the UNC Keenan Flagler Business School, the Duke Fuqua Business School, and NC State to help small business owners, minority business owners grow their business. And lastly, our Public Allies of North Carolina, in partnership with AmeriCorps, is there for individuals who want to gain experience and learn how about career growth by working with nonprofits. So I'm really excited about what we're doing. I'm going to skip this because I want to share some information with you about what I faced when I started with the Institute on March the 9th. Normally you transition into a company and you have time to get to know the team and understand the organization. I'm doing that on the fly because this is so critical that we understand what's happening with COVID-19 and how it's impacting our community, small business community, that we had to jump right on this and be a voice to many small, diverse businesses. And what we were hearing from SBA nationally was a focus on small businesses, which was 500 employees or smaller. And we wanted to take a different approach and look at those small businesses which were closer to 50 employees or smaller. And so I asked some colleagues to join me and build a coalition to address the impact of COVID-19 on those small, diverse businesses. And you can see there some of the partners. Not all of them are listed. Gloria Sheely, I know, is on the call, and I appreciate her participating in the study as well as others. But it was really important to us that we got a broad cross-section of small businesses throughout the state, which is why you see so many different types of small businesses represented. And our goal was to develop the survey, understand the impact of COVID-19, and educate the community on just what kind of impact we're seeing. And then we got to act, we have to move. So I want to share some of the results of the survey that came in. First of all, we had 468 responses to the survey, which basically within 3 days, which is a short turnaround time for that many responses. So I was very pleased with the response rate. And I know a lot of that is due to our community partners who helped us push it out and encourage small businesses to respond. Most of them are sole proprietor businesses. So we're thinking about these large businesses, but what we found was, even though we were targeting those companies at 50 employees or less, what the survey told us was we really should be thinking about those companies that are 10 employees or less. That's where we're seeing the biggest impact now. And part of what's happening, if you think about it, for many minority businesses, there's a high cost of entry into becoming an entrepreneur as it relates to capital and acquiring things that will help your business run, particularly manufacturing and things of that nature. So we tend to go into spaces like consulting and professional services, which you see on the right side. I can also tell you that earlier today I was on a call and they were sharing some results of the impact overall with small businesses. And the highest impact area or industry was hospitality, the hospitality industry. But that's not the case for minority businesses. Our highest impacted area is professional services for those who are consultants and providing services directly to a company or corporation. So it's a little different when you look at and you peel it open in terms of what's happening with small businesses generally versus what's happening with minority businesses. We also noticed that 50%, more than 50% of the companies have been in business for more than 5 years. So these are well-established companies. These aren't startups or brand new businesses at all. They've been in business for some time. They were stable for the most part and doing fairly well. So to have something like this catastrophic happen to them, that's been significant. 62% have experienced a loss of up to 50% of their revenue. Now think about that a minute. 2/3 have experienced up to half of their revenue disappear overnight. And as a result of that, based on the stay-at-home or shelter-in-place orders that we're seeing, they have closed their business to the public, but they are still functioning. They're still operating. And you can see there, 70% of them are still operating. So that's significant for us to think about. But what that also shows us that many of them only have a short window left before they start going out of business. 1/3 of them have somewhere around 30 days of operating cash or capital before they're out of business. Now that's worrisome to me because I'm thinking about how fast we put information out and make resources available to small businesses. When we started this process roughly a week and a half ago, and we finished in a week, just within that time frame, we lost 20 LGBT businesses. Just within that time frame. And if we're hearing that when we finished the survey, 1/3 of them had roughly 30 days left before they were going to face some serious issues. Well, we're a week out now. And so that has been shortened to 3 weeks. Many of them I'm hearing are going to banks, and the banks are saying, well, we're not ready. We still need maybe another week before we are ready to disseminate resources to you. So now you're down to 2 weeks. So this is getting very serious for us as we get our arms around this. You'll also see there some of the needs that we were hearing from the survey was that not only do we need loans and access to loans, but we need some grant funds that are available to us too, maybe at a smaller level or amount, but all of it can't be grants, because what we're seeing is while we've been closed, that revenue isn't coming back. It's lost. So we've got to also look at how we provide some grant funds for those small, diverse businesses. And the way you access those funds has to be fast and easy. So we need a streamlined process to get funds for operating expenses. So the other part of the survey was recommendations that we were hearing from the small businesses and the stakeholders. And I just wanted to share some of those recommendations. The first one was allowing construction to be considered an essential industry. And we've accomplished that so far. The second one was encouraging municipalities to provide water for both residential and business customers. And what we were finding was that many mayors were saying, we are providing water for residential customers during this time, so we won't turn it off for failure to pay. That doesn't mean you're not going to be expected to pay at some point, but we're not going to turn it off now. But they were exempting businesses. And you all know, if we have a stay-at-home order in place, and for restaurants, we're saying, well, you can still provide your services delivery or carry out. Water is essential. You have to have water. If you don't have that, you're out of business. So it was important for us to make sure both residential and business customers are covered under with utilities. And you'll notice recently, the governor put out a new executive order that covered utilities for both residential and business customers. So we're really excited about that. We're applauding not only Duke Energy, but other corporations who are maintaining services during this challenging time, because it's important that we stay connected and that we have the resources to continue to function as small businesses. And then you'll hear more about this later, but we're thinking everyone is focused on triage right now. Let's just safeguard where businesses are and keep them from going out of business. And I'm encouraging the Institute team and some of our partners to start thinking about post-triage. What do we do now once we get past this crisis period to make sure we further stabilize those small, diverse businesses and help them grow to the next level again? That time, you can't wait until we get there. Someone has to be thinking about that now. And I'm suggesting that we need to start thinking about a campaign around buying small, buying local, and buying from diverse businesses. So you'll hear more about that later. I mentioned earlier about providing grants in addition to loans, and I'm starting to see, even in some small cities, people are reaching out to the Institute and saying, you know, we want to create our own fund that could be used for emergency relief or support locally that is not a loan, it'll be a grant. So I'm excited to hear that. And then encouraging corporations to tweak their payment terms. And that was intriguing on a call this morning because several people were saying, well, what are you expecting corporations to do? And you know, corporations have a supply chain, and in that supply chain are small businesses. And some things that corporations can do to help small businesses would be tweaking their payment terms. So for the average corporation, their payment term may be net 30, 45, or even 60. So what we're suggesting is maybe now is a good time to consider tweaking that and getting those funds into those small businesses' hands quicker. So maybe let's look at a net 15 or shorter window to provide payment to those small, diverse businesses. Also waiving late fees for those who are expecting funds to come in from small businesses. Waive the late fee if it comes in late. And then look at general liability insurance. For some companies, they are looking at 5 million to 10 million in general liability, which is expensive for a small business. Maybe we can shorten that or reduce the amount of general liability insurance that a small business may need. So those were the results or the recommendations that we had. So next steps. I think there are 3 pieces to the next steps. We're already in the phase of educating the community about the results of the survey and making everyone aware of just what's happening with those small, diverse businesses. And I'm talking about 50 employees or smaller. We didn't want to assume we knew what small businesses were dealing with. We wanted to hear from them and give them an opportunity to voice to us what they need. But we also have to educate the government sector, corporations, foundations, and community leaders about what they're saying. So we're in that phase now. But then awareness and making the community aware of where the resources are. You know, I mentioned this morning to a group that I kind of feel like this is like walking up to a fire hydrant and turning it on. If y'all remember when you were a kid and well, y'all didn't do that. I was the only one who did that. You turn on the fire hydrant, you play out there for a while. But this is kind of like what's happening. You've got this massive amount of information that's coming at you at one time. And for a small business, that could be very intimidating, trying to figure out how do I cipher through this and figure out what's best for me. So I think the Institute and small community partners are here to help you with that, to figure that out. What's best for you based on where you are with your business and your business needs. And I'm sharing our webpage that we launched recently that shares some of that information about resources with the community. We're trying to make it as simple as possible for you to figure that out. But I would encourage you to reach out to the Institute through our business, through our women's business centers. And we can support you and help you, whether it is just figuring out what the right resource is for you, or how to fill out an application, which if you haven't ever had to fill out an application for a loan, that could be intimidating. So we're here to help you with that. And our community partners, we've made links available there to share some of the information that they are gathering as well. Lastly, I think there'll come a time where post-triage, we've got to start thinking about a marketplace. How do we connect buyers and sellers? There are a lot of people, and just watching the news, I'm hearing local citizens say, I want to buy and support a local small business, but I don't know who they are. I don't know where they are. So we've got to connect people together. And I think the marketplace will be the way we do that. But start thinking about buying local, buying small, and buying diverse. And we'll connect people through a platform where they can find those small, diverse businesses. Anecdotally, as a story, I was recently talking with Chad at the LGBT Chamber, and he was telling me about a LGBT-owned business that sold wine, and how the business was on the brink of going out of business because, you know, their business model was selling wine through the company, through the doors. And all of a sudden the stay-at-home order limits that opportunity. But by setting up a marketplace, Chad was able to expose the company to those who want to buy from small, diverse, LGBT-owned companies. And as a result of that, now that company is selling 130 bottles a day, and they're delivering it to your home. So I'm excited about stories like that, where if we just tweak our business model a little bit, share that with each other, we can keep businesses alive and keep them functioning. And then lastly, the emergency relief microfund. We're developing that as a way of streamlining an opportunity for those who want to give and want to support local businesses through grants or micro grants. And these are things like a story I heard about a small business who is struggling to pay their bills. You know, you prioritize your bills. What am I going to pay first? I'm going to pay my mortgage. I'm going to try to keep my lights on. We got to eat. And when you start getting further and further down the list and you're running out of money, paying your webmaster may not get paid. Now, the problem with that is if your webmaster doesn't get paid, they turn off your website. And that's been your primary way of communicating with the public, with potential buyers. So maybe some type of loan fund to help in those cases. I'm talking small amounts to help people stay viable is where we're going with the loan. So that's what I've got. We are here, the Institute is here. We are a resource through our partners, our community partners, through the efforts of the Institute team, our women's business centers. We are here to help you, and I hope this has been informational. And I'll stop there. I had a few questions as well. One was just, the intrigue of the marketplace and wanting to know more about that. There is more to come. We are going to stand up another web page of our website that goes into more detail about the marketplace to connect buyers and sellers there. The emergency relief fund will also be there. So stay tuned for more information about it. And there's a lot of information out there. Is another question, and I'm not sure where to turn. I would suggest that you turn to those community partners within your community. The Institute is one. We've listed community partners that you can also access for additional support. Your banker is one that can help you as well. And I know there's several bankers on the call who are ready and willing to help, excuse me, their customers as well. So we're all here to help you. I don't want you to panic. Calm yourself, pace yourself, and know that there are resources here to help you. That's what I've got, Kimberly.
Thank you so much. Great information. Thank you, Mr. Kevin Price, President and CEO of the North Carolina Institute of Minority Economic Development in Durham. Also, a very special thank you to Mr. Thomas A. Stith III, the North Carolina District Director of the U.S. Small Business Administration in Charlotte, North Carolina. And this concludes our virtual town hall meeting. I'm Kimberly Pierce Cartwright here at WNCU 90.7 FM at North Carolina Central University. And I want to thank all of you who participated in our chat and also were online getting all this valuable information. A very special thank you also to Z. Smith Reynolds, our survey participants, WNCU 90.7 FM, North Carolina Central University, the U.S. Small Business Administration, and to the North Carolina Institute of Minority Economic Development for hosting this event. We want you all to stay well, stay safe, and have a great day.